Sanjana, what's changed in the industry today compared to when you started?
First of all, hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here, and even happier to be on stage with Devika, because we did study together in school, so this is like life coming full circle. You know, I mean, if I had to think about what's changed in the industry, I kind of started my tryst with films when I was about 13 years old as a child actor in Rockstar, when I played Mandy, Nargis Fakhri's sister. And that was the age when social media, I remember we had phones in school, but Instagram wasn't the way it is today. And so for kids like us from the outside to get to know about opportunities and to be able to put ourselves out there was impossible, because today with Instagram everyone has a platform. So it was very opaque, the industry back then. I would say that that's the biggest difference between then and now. Today, if a casting director wants to put out something about a new film, it can reach lakhs of people in a second, and you can apply online and send your tape in virtually. The pandemic has now, you don't see those lines outside Aramnagar anymore, because everyone is sending virtual tapes. So if I think about the hours I've spent in the monsoons waiting outside audition rooms compared to when I talk to kids who are moving to the city today, as an actor, when you're starting out, everything has changed.
That's great, and that's a tip right there for aspiring actors. As Sanjana said, you can virtually send in your tapes as well. Sanjana, since we're here at We Women Want, of course, we want to know who were the women that have inspired you, people who you looked up to as we were growing up.
So for me, it's, I used to, like you know, be very nerdy. There used to be some kind of solace that I used to find in my textbooks, and it wasn't because I wanted to top or be first in class. It was just because I just loved, if I was reading about Indian political history, then I'm imagining myself sitting there with Jawaharlal Nehru while he was signing some state agreement or some accord. And I think that's where my mind kind of, the creative mind used to just free flow. And so I find a lot of inspiration from history because of that, from my immediate surroundings. So for me, our principal in school, Lata Vaidyanathan, till today is my biggest inspiration, because she allowed us to do whatever we wanted. So if you wanted to play sport, you could be on the field for hours. If you wanted to dance, you could be performing for hours. And she has allowed me to shoot a film in the 12th grade and miss my pre-board exams, because she knew that that's something I really wanted to do and that I'll be able to take care of things later. So Lata ma'am and I think my Nani would be my two biggest inspirations.
That's great. And Sanjana, somewhere do you feel that OTTs have allowed the roles for women to now be diversified beyond how we used to see them in sort of complementary roles? Someone would be a mother, someone would be a sister, someone would be a girlfriend, wife. Has that diversified as per you?
100%. I think if you speak to any female actor today, she's more empowered and more employed than ever before. I remember when I debuted with Dil Bechara, how taken aback I was with how Kizzy was this full person, you know, and there was a film that a studio wanted to make on this girl. It was so refreshing back then, and now today we have entire series that are based on female characters. So that's happened because the audiences have asked for it. They've consumed that content and said that we want to watch women's stories and we want to see them at work, we want to see them at home, and we don't just want to see them in hot saris and bikinis. So it's actually come from the audience, and we as the industry just follow. We make what they want to watch at the end of the day. So
clearly we made great strides in that regard, but with all the glamour, there does come a lot of criticism, especially for women, towards women as well. You know, you're really nitpicked for every little thing about yourself. So how do you manage that? How do you take care of your mental health?
So it's a work in progress, I think. We've all been badgered with the rhino skin, have a skin of a rhino, have a skin of a rhino, and it's easier said than done, because at the end of it, you're a you're in your 20s, you're just about figuring life out. As an artist, you're vulnerable in any case. You know, to portray characters, you have to be emotional and you have to be vulnerable. And then there's people telling you, have a rhino skin. So I'm like, listen, this is very confusing. What do you want me to do? Like, but as I'm growing up, I feel like I'm getting better at it. I remember even till 2 years ago, if I would read a nasty comment, I would be like, but why? Like, why are they saying that? And now I read it and it doesn't even bother me. So I guess with time, you just do become indifferent to the noises that are irrelevant. And you focus on what's important, which is entertaining the audiences and creating characters that are memorable. That's really what it's all about.
Okay, now moving beyond films a little bit, discussing what else is important in the world as well. Sanjana, what is the one thing that you would want to change about the world if you could?
The one thing that I am committed to changing and working every day in trying to do my bit is that I have this dream that maybe not the world, but at least my country, that every child in India receives an education that is respectable and that really allows them to discover their potential. Because I wouldn't have been able to be here if it weren't for the institution that I got to go to. Going to Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi University was very hard because the cutoffs are very high. But it did teach me so much about life. And our youth is our power. And I feel that if every child I've met, because I work with children with the UNDP and with Save the Children India, I see so many dreams and ambitions in their eyes, and I see such a fire to want to do. All they need is a hand to guide them along. So if we do that, we're going to be an unbeatable country. And if I could change one thing, that's what I'd change.
And I believe that you do a lot of work as far as children's education is concerned. So you're actually using the platform and now the microphone, let's say, that you have through Instagram, through Twitter, through Facebook, and your social media presence, and of course your presence in film. You're using all of that to actually take people's attention towards other issues as well. You know, like you said that, and as we were discussing earlier, it's not just about the glamour, it's not just about you wearing an outfit and looking nice and, people asking you those sort of things. But you want to talk about other things as well, you want to use your platform for the betterment, and that's a cause that you believe in, education.
Yes, and not because, again, none of it is by plan, really. Being an actor wasn't by plan. And now using my platform and doing the work I do wasn't a plan either. I'm very instinctive and I can only do what I'm passionate about. And entertainment and education are really the two things that make me want to get up and snap out of my bed and go about my day. And it also gives me joy, which is why traveling to all parts of our country, working with students, understanding their problems, and giving them solutions actually makes me happy. So actually it's a very selfish thing. I always say that I'm probably just doing it for myself. But as a result of it, we're able to hopefully mobilize change. And hopefully as I keep growing older and older and the reach increases, the impact and what we can do, it increases also.
And you are one person who has millions of followers. Then there are other actors and film personalities. And whether anybody likes it or not, of course, you guys do have, as far as social media is concerned, the biggest microphones. People want to listen to what actors, actresses have to say. People do discuss what movies are made about, what are the topics that they're picking. So what sort of issues do you hope to take up through cinema in terms of social impact? What would you want our films to perhaps be about?
With my films, I have to be honest, the primary parameter is entertaining kya hai aur dekhne mein maza kisme aata hai. Because films in any case are a cultural tool. If we go back and think about what Kuch Kuch Hota Hai did to our entire generation, or Dil Chahta Hai did, I don't think Farhan Akhtar was setting out to to tell a youth liberation story. He was just telling the story of three best friends, but it impacted an entire generation. So when I'm picking films, I'm really only looking at my character's truth and looking at the fact that would I watch that film as an audience to be entertained. And if in the process you are also feeling empowered or made aware of a social issue, then it's a double bonanza. Like Dhak Dhak, for example, which is my next film. It's the story of 4 women riding Royal Enfields from Delhi to Khardungla. They are 4 strangers, they aren't friends, and they're from different walks of life. And really it's just their story, but once we finish shooting, we realize that it's a story of so many other things. It's a story about women's liberation, about understanding what equality really even means. And we didn't go in with that intention, but I think the output has resulted in that. So if that's how it can be, I'm the happiest.
And at the same time, Sanjana, since I asked you about what you would like to focus on, there is an expectation from actors and actresses to take up issues, to voice their opinions, but at the same time, when somebody does, then they're massively trolled. Then people are told, very mean things, that why don't you stick to acting, or why don't you go read a book before you start speaking. So that happens a lot. There's a lot of contradiction in what society wants and expects from its actors and actresses. So how do you balance that out, and how should our film industry maneuver around this sort of a contradiction?
This is something I've really grappled with, because I have so many opinions about so many things. And earlier, when I just debuted around Dil Bechara, I used to be naive enough to express many of them also, because I used to be like, it's a free world, we should say what we want to say. And then I realized that as an actor, it's not that simple. So now when I work with senior actors or just my friends, I just finished a film with Pankaj sir, and we had a long chat about this, because Pankaj Tripathi is very aware about everything that's going on in the country. But I've realized that keeping your opinions to yourself is the best way to go, because there's no if something good is going to come out of it, then you feel encouraged to express your opinion. But if not, then why? So now, for the most part, I keep it to myself, is the honest answer.
Okay. And looking back, given that you've completed over a decade in the film industry, is there something that you would do differently if you could go back?
It's, we can say a decade, and then it almost feels like Rockstar and what I did as a child artist, and then Dil Bechara feels like 2 separate lifetimes, honestly, because I grew up, I went to school, I went to college, and where I'm standing today and how I feel today and the kind of work that I'm doing, I wouldn't do a single thing differently. It's been really hard. There have been enough moments where I felt like I was such a good student in academia. Why have I chosen to be here? Because films are a very, very challenging place to be. Emotionally, it's challenging. You can't meet family, friends for months. Getting work is hard. But once you get over those, and once you learn your lessons from those, you feel so strong that then nothing can faze you. So I feel like if I hadn't gone through those hard times, it wouldn't feel as rewarding today. And just because of that, I wouldn't change anything.
So what would be your, you've already given a tip in the beginning about how you can now send in your tapes virtually as well, and we do have several aspiring actors who've also joined us today. So I'm sure that they'll pick up on that. But what would be your then suggestions to people who are just starting out in the film industry, given that it's not just about the silver screen anymore? We have OTTs. We also have people who are doing so well through content that they're putting out on platforms like YouTube, which is actually, free to watch, and people are still doing so well. Then you have people putting out short plays, etc., even on Instagram. Everything today is accessible. What would be your tips to the next aspiring generation?
I don't know if I'm anyone to give any tips, but when a lot of my juniors from school and college or family friends, many of whom want to become actors, ask me that how do we start? My only suggestion would be that nothing and nobody cares more here about how talented you are. And there is no space for you if you aren't talented, especially when you're coming from no background and like you said, don't have a godfather. So work on your craft, work endlessly on it. There is no end to how much you can perfect an art. It's an endless kind of journey. So focus on that and don't focus on the fruit. Focus on the process and kill it at your auditions. Impress the makers so much that they have no choice but to say yes to you. You know, because that is the best way to get an opportunity. So that would be my primary tip.
Okay, and at the same time, Sanjana, you know, a lot of actresses are exposed to this, and over generations they have been. The fact that every actress is usually told that you have a shelf life. And I've spoken to some veteran actresses in the past as well, and they also said that that's something that they've experienced. I just want to understand from you, has that changed for your generation? Do you feel that, okay, there are not too many people who are telling me that after 30, 35 or 40, when you're not looking a certain way, then you're suddenly Shah Rukh Khan's mother?
Right. Yeah. It's entirely changed, fully changed, and I give full credit to, I think Kareena changed it first when she became a mother and showed us that you can be a caring, committed mother and still be one of the biggest stars of the country. And I mean, Deepika, Priyanka are all now in their later 30s, Katrina, and they're at the top of their game. So it by all means has changed. I know it was very different till 10 years ago, but we and my contemporaries, we talk about it, and we're very grateful to the senior batch, to Anushka, etc., for really making this a lot easier for us.
Absolutely. And Sanjana, your message to all the women who are watching the We Women Want Festival, this is a community that the ITV network is trying to create. It's soon becoming a platform for women to just come together, talk about all issues possible, and of course cinema is a big part of the female community as well. So your message to all the women who are watching our show today?
I think my only message to every woman here, I see so many different faces, so many vibrant faces, would be that as women, we really are the full circle. And, you know, within us, there's the power to create, to nurture, and to transform. And don't ever underestimate yourself, because you are far more powerful than you realize.
That's a fantastic thought to end this particular session with Sanjana on. And of course, we have, like I said, a great lineup for the rest of the day, but a huge round of applause for Sanjana Sanghi as well. Thank you so much, Sanjana, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.